friends, and welcome to another day of Crochet and Crime. My name is Hazy Baby, and I crochet while talking about crime. And here is Lillian. She's almost done. I don't know if you can see how big she is. She is humongous. She was originally single bed size, but then my mother was all like, no, I want it bigger. And so we have to make it bigger. Oh, that was weird. My face just did that weird thing. Anyway, today is Wednesday the 17th of May, and I will be talking about crime while crocheting. If you're new to my channel, then welcome. Please go over to YouTube and subscribe. If you want a chance to win one of my lovely creations, all you have to do is comment. Yeah, and that's it. So if you're on YouTube, it starts right now. And if you're not on YouTube, then you'll just have to go over and see the videos. Okay. Okie dokie. So I have a fair few stories for you guys today. Some of them are international stories and some of them are good old regular Australian crime. It's taken me about an hour to get all the way around Evie now. Not Evie, Lillian. I called her Evie twice now. Her name is not Evie, her name is Lillian. Evie was the pink one. This is Lillian. Anywho, so first of all, the first story I have for you today is, from Britain, I think. I mean, I assume it is. So 5 have been convicted over a $185 million heist of the European King's treasure. How cool is that? So let me read about it. I don't think it's the King's treasure. It must be a different treasure. So yeah, it's German. There we go. It's Germany. A German court has convicted 5 men of breaking into the Dresden Museum and stealing 21 pieces of jewellery containing over 4,300 diamonds. Because diamonds! The men, aged 24 and 29, received prison sentences ranging from 4 years and 4 months to 6 years and 3 months. I think I just need to turn this. Ah, that's much better. I was like, where's the light on this? It was so dark. Okay, German news agency DPA reported. So that's who gave us this information. One defendant was completely acquitted. So the state court ruled that 5 men were responsible for the theft of 18th century jewellery from the Greenwald Museum on the 25th of November in 2019. So while the rest of the world was like breaking from COVID, these guys were breaking into a museum. So officials said at the time the items that were stolen included a large diamond brooch, a diamond epaulet. The crime was considered one of Germany's most spectacular jewellery heists in recent history. The pieces that were taken had a insured value of 113.8 million or 185.7 million Australian. The men that were accused of starting a fire just before the break-in to cut the power supply to the streetlights outside of the museum, and also to setting a fire in a car in a nearby garage before fleeing to Berlin. They were caught several months later during raids in Germany's capital. The court convicted them of particularly aggravated arson in combination with dangerous bodily injury, theft with weapons, and damage of property in an intentional arson. Wow. Intentional. Jeebus. Dyslexia sometimes. It's real, guys. It's real. Judges who heard the case observed that some of the men acted with considerable criminal energy. I don't know what that means. What does that mean? How do you have a criminal energy? Okay. The aim was to get rich. Well, duh, the judge said. More than 100 witnesses and 11 experts gave testimony during the trial's main proceedings, according to the news agency. The Green Vault is one of the world's oldest museums, and it was established in 1723 and contains the treasury of Augustus the Strong of Saxony, which comprises of around about 4,000 objects of gold, precious stones, and other materials. So apparently Augustus was a bit of a hoarder of jewels. by the sounds of it. I mean, opulence and wealth does tend to follow. And it was in around about the time where there were a lot of Tsars and a lot of kings and queens around Europe. So, yeah. In January, the defense, prosecution, and court reached a plea bargain after most of the jewels that were stolen were returned. However, some of the most important pieces featured a large diamond still remains missing. The 4 defendants who agreed to plead guilty to a bargain subsequently admitted their involvement in the crime through their lawyers. The 5th defendant also confessed, but only to helping to procure objects such as axes used to make holes in the museum's display cases, the DPA reported. The returned pieces did not erase the fact that the museum's collection and the complete jewelry sets is probably destroyed forever because they're not complete anymore. The state of Saxony, where Dresden is located, claimed damages of almost $89 million, or $145.2 million, to cover the cost of the pieces and the return damage, the missing jewelry, and the repairs to the destroyed display cases and the museum's building. In his remarks, Zigal directly addressed the defendants, saying it was up to them to decide whether to continue committing crimes. There are things in life that are not worth living a different life for, the judge said, according to the plea. And I agree with him. It's your choice what you do with your life and what you do to make it. And I agree. No amount of jewelry is worth jail time as far as I'm concerned. No amount of money is worth anything. If I had to choose between money and family, family would win every time. Money does not keep you warm. You can't take it with you when you die, and you only live once. And sure, it can help ease that burden of all of that stuff. And sure, it definitely makes it a hell of a lot easier when you want to drive to see your family if you have some money, but in the end, it doesn't make anyone happy. Existential Crises proudly brought to you by Hazy Baby. Tune in next week for some more depressing facts. Alright, let's move on from this one on to another one. So, a Queensland man receives a bravery award for thwarting an armed robbery using a pot plant. Yep, you heard that correctly. So, Andrew Ormsby never thought his pub story would plant his feet, see what they did there, plant, in front of the governor of Queensland. 4 years ago, the pub goer was hailed a hero for thwarting a armed robbery at Mermaid Beach Tavern on the Gold Coast. Oh, that's a good tavern, I've been there. On Tuesday, he was among everyday Queenslanders who received honours and bravery awards for risking their lives to help others. I've seen this video, he does such a good job. It's a huge favour, really, it's unexpected, he told 9 News. If they told me that night that, whatever, get off the drink, he added with a laugh. He was playing the pokies in 2009 when he grabbed a bar stool and stopped the machete-wielding bandit who was terrorising the female bartender. He then used a pot plant to disarm the masked thief before chasing him out of the pub. Everyone was surprised. They're like, out of all weapons, you chose a pot plant? And him like, well, it was the only thing I could see at the time. That's quick thinking. Jesus. I don't want to think I've been drinking. I haven't been, guys. I've just been crocheting. I just have ADHD and dyslexia, and sometimes those things mixed together means my words get all jumbled and mumbled. But you guys get the drift. You guys get it. Today he was commended for his brave conduct and quick thinking. It's just like something anyone else would do, you know? If somebody was in distress, your instincts kick in. It's kind of save whoever's there. And I don't agree with you, buddy. I think that you're a rare bird. Not everybody would jump in and help. If that was the case, then we would have a lot less burglaries happening, and we'd have a lot less assaults happening, that's for sure. So Harley Schmidt showed the same type of bravery when he risked his life to save 4 teenagers stranded on top of a light pole during a dangerous floodwaters that swept through Townsville in 2019. Yeah, and he saved them, so how cool is that? It's just humbling. I never expected anything like this. All up, there was 115 Queenslanders from all walks of life were recognised across 5 ceremonies at Government House for their bravery. How cool is that, guys? That's a nice, uplifting criminal story. It's only criminal because he thwarted criminals, but still, we need a good one every now and then. I just love that he... Could you imagine that guy in prison now? Like, he's having to, like, tell how he was caught. I bet he leaves it out. Oh, yeah, I was caught. Yeah, how were you caught? Oh, I was caught. Someone smacked me in the head with a pop plant and then chased me down. It sounds like a Looney Tunes episode or something. Half expected that. Could just picture of that. Would be so cute. All right, let's move on, shall we? Okie dokie. So if you guys been on my channel before, you would have heard me ranting and raving about youth crime and how what we currently do isn't good enough. Well, today I have a story for you guys that kind of brings home my point. So some Queensland teenagers are welcoming their time in youth detention centres. So how does that describe to you guys how crappy their lives must be, that they are welcoming, that they want to be at the youth centre more than they want to be at home? Like, how sad are their lives? How sad is that? So more time behind bars is often like the solution for youth crime crisis that's gripping Queensland. It's what people call for every single time something happens. Everyone, you see a whole bunch of freaking, that Simpson episode where she's like, will somebody please think of the children? Well, that's what everyone in Queensland acts like when there is any kind of youth crime. Oh no, except, will someone please think of the children? They all go off on like this like mob crowd mentality of like, they need more punishment, gotta put them in jail. Oh yes, they should, they're getting off easy. They're not getting off easy. Anywho, so, but far from it, because young offenders, some teens are actually welcoming their time in the youth detention. The state has 3 detention centres, which is disgusting, which are home to the worst underage offenders, including several car thieves, a couple of home invaders, violent offenders, and a few killers. There are some serial car thieves, some serial home invaders, those found guilty of violent crimes, and like I said, even a few killers in there. So a juvenile inmate can spend up to 13 days in an individual cell furnished with a bed, a desk, a shower, and a toilet, which is like, doesn't sound like much, but if you grew up on the wrong side of the tracks, that's a lot, guys. That's a lot. They can pass the time by reading, writing, or watching TV with their own personal TV. I didn't even have a TV growing up. So yeah, I could see the life that this. They also get 3 square meals a day and education. So access to education, food, shelter, warmth, safety. Yeah, I can see why they would be enjoying this. So school classes behind bars and other lessons are aimed at diverting youths away from a life of crime because, knowledge is power. The more knowledge you have, the less likely, the more chances you have of getting that leg up in the world. The cycle repeats itself because we continue to create the situations in which creates these children and these people, and then we complain that they're acting that way. Society is a giant gaslighter, guys. It's a giant gaslighter. At first we create these situations, we don't give them the help, we don't give them the support, we don't lift them up, and all of that jazz. And I can speak to it because, without education, I probably wouldn't be where I am today. And so I had a lot of support from extended family members. My grandmother was awfully helpful. And my mother, she had her faults, but on and off, she was amazing. And so through that, and mostly the meeting of my husband, who lifted me up and gave me more confidence than anyone could have ever given me, and education, I was able to break a cycle. And I don't like to talk about it too much, and I know that I show snippets of that kind of stuff throughout my other videos, and I really don't want any commentary on my life. Thank you very much. Probably shouldn't even share this much of it, but I feel like it needs to come from the reason why I'm talking on this subject is because it's not heard very often, and we don't really talk about it very often. And I feel that a lot of people that are talking about it, they have no idea what they're talking about. They didn't grow up in houses that didn't have beds. Like, they had meals every day. They had shoes when they were growing up. They didn't grow up in poverty. They didn't grow up in domestic violent homes, and they don't understand because they didn't grow up there. They don't get it. You don't want to do the things that you do, and because you have no frontal cortex reasoning because you're a child, you just want what is best for you at the time, and really any attention is better than no attention. And so we are not fixing the problem. We are creating a problem, and then we are complaining that there is a problem. And our solution is more punishment. Yeah, so punish the children who are already being punished by society by putting them in these cells. And by the sounds of it, the cells are better than their current lives. So they're literally told when they can and can't do anything. It's heavily structured, and some of us need that heavy structure, for sure. I am one of those people. The biggest impact for reoffending behaviour is if they don't have the skills to enter a productive life plan. And I agree. The average age is about 16, but the numeracy and literacy levels of about an 8-year-old, because once you stop being able to go to school, you stunt your growth. It's not unusual for them to achieve years of attainment in a space of months. So intensive is the program. There are chores like cleaning, but there's no hard labour involved. Instead, there's exercise and recreation. Normal adolescents, as you can imagine, need to burn off some energy, 100%. So there might be some touch football games and some basketball games, but that's really the extent of it. Statewide shortage of prison staff, there is often more time alone, and the centres are fully staffed on a regular basis. When that happens, they go into lockdown, they stay in their cells, and they don't receive the education that they need. Once released, 80% of those children are back in the system within 12 months. We need to ask some very difficult questions, and I agree. We need to talk about detention centres and what will make their life better on the outside. There's 3 meals a day, they have their own bed, and these things are many things that they don't have on the outside. Experts' research has shown that access to safe accommodation, healthcare, and education on the outside dramatically reduces the incidences of repeat offending. If we want the children to stop committing the offences, we need to provide them with their basic needs. And I 100% agree with that. If we want people to stop, we need to support them better. And that's my social justice injustice, proudly brought to you by Hazy Baby. Let's move on, shall we? So, our next story is out of the Gold Coast. And a third man who allegedly escaped from a correction centre near the Gold Coast has been found by police. So let me tell you a little story about Greg. I don't know if it's his name. I'm just naming him that. It's not. His name's Antonio. The third man who allegedly escaped from a correctional centre on the southwest of the Gold Coast has been found by police. So, Antonio David Menny allegedly fled the Palin Creek Correctional Centre from Rothdowley, about 70 kilometres from Burleigh Heads, with other prisoners on Sunday. So 3 prisoners escaped on Sunday. Queensland Police said they located at Ravenshoe, which was about 1,400 kilometres between Cairns and Townsville, at 3 p.m. on Tuesday. So, he made it pretty far. He's got terrible tattoos on his face. Leave your face alone. He's serving 3-year sentence for the illegal use of a motor vehicle. So pretty stupid to try and escape. He'll appear at the Cairns Magistrate Court tomorrow, charged with 1 count of escape from lawful custody. Sorry, I'm just going to move this blanket around because it's so big. That's what she said. Woo! And yeah, the other 2 men, 32-year-old Daniel Badcock, that's a terrible name, and 20-year-old O'Shea Pilton, what a cool name. One bad name, one cool name, were found by police at Northgate, a suburb in Brisbane, more than 100 kilometres from the correctional centre at around about 10 a.m. yesterday, so they didn't really make it that far. Badcock is serving a year for weapons and explosive offences, and Pilton has served a year and 9 months for entering a dwelling with intent. The prison itself is a low-security centre which was probably the reason why they were able to escape so easily. But my question is why? None of them were in there for long periods of time. They only really had to serve out their sentences and then be on their merry way. So they must have been extremely bored, or maybe there was a little bit of corruption happening. I don't know why 3 men would decide to escape when they're going to get more charges now, and those charges are just going to increase the time that they're in prison. Maybe they really like prison. I don't know. I can't speculate to their states of mind, but seems kind of weird. Okay, let's move on. What story do I have now? So police sergeant who was critically injured in Crystal Brook stabbing has been now released from hospital. So if you, like I said, if you've been on my channel before, a couple of weeks ago I was talking to you about a madman who went on a little bit of a stabby rampage. He stabbed 2 police officers before he was shot and killed. Unfortunately, because that is not good. They were airlifted to hospital. One of them was in a critical condition and the other one was severely injured, and the one who was in a critical condition has now been released from hospital. So that's like 3 weeks, I think. 3 weeks of recovery. So Barvet Sergeant Ian Todd, one of the 2 police officers stabbed during a horrific attack in the South Australia, told Crystal Brook he'd been released from hospital. Todd was rushed to the Royal Adelaide Hospital with life-threatening injuries on May 3rd. So there you go, it's not even 3 weeks ago. After being knifed in the neck, hands and arm by his attacker, who was then shot dead. Almost 2 weeks after the incident, his family today announced that he's been released from hospital. Ian was released from hospital last Monday, so Monday the 15th of May, and is now recovering at home with his extended family. A statement released by the police had said he will still hold on for a long road of recovery, but he is thrilled with his progress and happy to be out of the hospital. Look, anyone who's had to spend any kind of extended time in the hospital will be cheering along with him. Trust me, I've had to be in a hospital a few times in my life, and no one wants... I feel sorry for the nurses who have to do like the nightly checks and flash you in the face with a torch, but they have to do that to make sure that you're still alive. But I just yeah, it's not a good night's sleep. It doesn't matter how dog tired you are, if you're a light sleeper or even if you're a heavy sleeper, no one's getting a good night's sleep in a hospital. So even in the ICU. So I really, really am glad that he is home. He'll be able to at least get some rest now that he's at home. So yeah, that's a happy ending to one of our stories, which is really nice because stories usually end in a lot of death and stabbies. But yeah, I'm so glad he's home with his family and his friend. Todd and a fellow officer, Jordan Alley, were attacked by Sean Ferris after they checked on him because there was complaints about his dog barking. Alley was also hospitalised after the attack, but has also gone home. So that's good, isn't it? Okie dokie, artichoke, let's move right along. So a man has pled not guilty to murdering Raymond Kim in a gay bashing back in 1987. So, let me move on. A man who went on a gay bashing at a park where another man was murdered concedes he should not have told police. A friend claimed responsibility, even though he was a liar. So it was over 3 decades ago, and a different man is on trial for the murder. Stanley Bruce Early, 77, has pled not guilty of murdering Raymond Kim in Allison Park in Randwick, in Sydney's eastern suburbs. So let me tell you a little bit more about this story. So he's accused of bashing the 43-year-old martial arts expert, either alone or in a group. I kind of feel like if he's a martial arts expert, it would have had to be a group thing, because he suspected that Kim was homosexual. So Mark Stewart told the New South Wales Supreme Court he went to Allison Park several times, seeing a man get chased probably every time, and thrice participating in it himself. I've got no idea what that just means. Just to scare them, I suppose, Stewart said on Tuesday. So apparently this park was a known park for men on the down low. So you have to remember that this is 1980. What was it again? Sorry, hold on. 1987. So 1987, gay pride just wasn't a thing. Like, you couldn't be proud about being gay. People got beaten a lot, and it's absolutely disgusting period of time in which men had to pretend that they were straight. A lot of them were married with kids and stuff, and it's just horrible. And on the down low, and having sex in public places such as parks and places like that. Anyway, a few of these parks and stuff were known to the community and the gay community alike, but it's a seedy underbelly of what happens when you try and deny people who are born a certain way. They wouldn't have liked it either. I mean, I wouldn't like hiding myself, and that would be absolutely horrible. And I really feel sorry for gay men and women, anyone really, because people still to this day still don't get that, it's not a choice. No one would choose to be completely different from everybody else. I mean, you can be proud about being gay. I'm proud that I'm pansexual. I'm proud that my daughter is gay. But obviously, I would want to be normal. But we can't help who we love, and we can't help who we fall in love with, and we can't help the way we feel. It's a chemical reaction in your brain. You were born that way. And anyone who says any different, we just can't be friends. We can have different opinions, but we just can't be friends. And so back in this day in 1987, him and his mates apparently used to go to this park several times, which is, I think, what this writer is trying to say, to chase suspected gay men and bash them, like a fun weekend out, I suppose. So he and his friend wanted men out of the park after a story circled that apparently a young boy had been assaulted by someone. Not true. And it used to happen a lot that they would say things like this to sort of mix gay with pedophilia, which actually is not the case. He told the police weeks after Kem's body was discovered in January of 1987, he began frequenting the park to the previous year to go pansy bashing. So none of the people doing so intended to kill or seriously injure anyone, he said on Tuesday. We were just trying to deter people from the park. Yeah, okay. You can tell yourself whatever reason you want to tell yourself, buddy. So before speaking to the police in February 1987, Stewart had a conversation when the murder was discussed. What you've recorded is that your friend says, I've done it, I killed him, and that's something he clearly said to you. Jeffrey Clark said, the person cannot be named as they were under 18 at the time, and Stewart did not tell police because his friend was a big mouth who tells a lot of lies, he said. Clark questioned why he did not think it was worth mentioning the claim. I should have, Stewart had said. The big mouth also introduced Stewart to an older man who they called Spider, which the jury has been told was Early's nickname. So Crown Prosecutor Ken Mackay read a police statement to the court from the since deceased person who recalled the Allison Park being a after-school meeting place for high school students. One afternoon they went to a nearby home of a male person, I later found out, who had the nickname Spider, with some others, including Big Mouth. So, basically what had happened is this guy who's being accused of a murder, the murder of this supposed gay man, had gone to the police and told the police that he bashed this gay man. But actually now he's saying that Big Mouth, or a friend of his who was under the age, was actually the person who did it, and he just said that he did it so that he could save this person because this person was underage and had told him that the man he had murdered was a pedophile. So he's going with the whole vigilante justice thing, and since there is no one left anymore, Big Mouth has since deceased, and the person who they murdered is also deceased. So yeah, it's just his word and his justification. Plus memories are, they're difficult, and who knows what he's told himself. He did whatever reason that he did these things. So anyway, Spider showed the student a black 18-inch baton, and I think, but I'm not sure, he told us that he used it to bash pedophiles in the park with. So Kem's unresolved death was one of 88 killings. So there was 88 killings between 1976 and 2000. Recently reviewed by police, probing potential gay hate crime and alleged prior inaction. He identified as a homosexual, was divorced from one woman and in de facto relationship with another, having a child with each. Like I said, it used to happen a lot back then. Early, that was his name, went to Bundaberg for his brother's birthday, the day Kem's body was discovered in the park across from the house. He told the police that he learned the murder when he returned from to Queensland 5 days later. The case in the circumstances, and Clark told the jury on the first day there was no evidence of anyone so early had any contact with Clem, and the trial continues on Wednesday, so it continues today. So that was a lot of rigmarole, but basically so Stanley Bruce Early, 77, is pleading not guilty to Raymond Clem's death. The police have opened up a bunch of investigations from 1976 till 2000 that have been related, so 88 killings have been related, they think related to gay hate crime, pretty much. And so in this case, they found this guy, and he's saying it wasn't him that did it, it was another dude nicknamed Spider, and that's who did it. So hopefully he'll be convicted, because I think that even if he was just there, and even if he was just bashing up, that's horrible, even if he was bashing up gay men in that time, I feel like he deserves some sort of trouble. He deserves some sort of prison time, because as far as I'm concerned, inaction is the same as creating it. Standing by and letting it happen is also the same. If he knew that was the case, why did he not say something to the police earlier? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Turn the blanket around again. It's getting quite heavy. And we'll move on to our next story, which is another catch-up. So this one was about the SAS soldier who was charged with a war crime the first time in forever. So I have a little bit of a more update on that. So after driving all the way to his local police station only to find it shut, a former Special Services Force officer was charged with a war crime, has had his bail conditions altered. So Oliver Jordan Schultz is living at an undisclosed location in New South Wales, in rural New South Wales actually, charged with the unlawful killing of a civilian while deployed in Afghanistan in 2012. So this was the man who, they have body cam footage of it. He just shot an Afghani man unarmed. So the 41-year-old was granted bail on March 28, but the conditions required him to report to the nearest police station each day had been complicated because of the irregular opening hours, because March, April and May all have like a bunch of public holidays in them. So the accused has been attending at different times and finding it unattended, Crown Prosecutor Epson said on Tuesday. His bail was varied in the Darling Centre local court, allowing Schultz to attend the police station in person and, if it was closed, remotely contact to a nearby station to report without breaching his bail conditions. So Magistrate Susan Horan found any risks he would not appear in court were still addressed by the changers because he had to be physically present even when reporting that he was away. So he's adhering to the bail conditions. So discussions are also ongoing between the office and the Director of Public Relations, Schultz's legal team, and the Commonwealth Attorney General about how an ex-SAS soldier can access his brief and evidence without breaching national security laws. So he has his brief and his evidence, which is absolutely ridiculous. The matter will next come to court in June 27th after Schultz and his lawyers had had time to consider these security concerns. So the soldier was accused of approaching Dad, Muhammad, in a wheat field in Afghanistan and then firing 3 shots at a 25 to 26-year-old while he was on his back with his hands and his knees raised in the air in a fetal position, saying like, you know, please don't kill me kind of thing. Muhammad's father later made a complaint to the ADF alleging that his son had been shot in the head. In March, Schultz was granted bail despite the seriousness of the alleged crimes after a magistrate found that he was at high risk for a Taliban attack, which I don't disagree with, if he remained behind bars. I also don't think he would last very long in prison, just saying. Orders were also made barring the public from reporting the town and the region where he resides to protect his family and any retaliation by an Islamic fundamentalist group. Look, I just want to say this. Sometimes the groups are better than the individuals. And that's all I'll leave it at. Do with it what you will. But that's disgusting and it makes me feel angry. As a military wife, I can just say I feel like people need to realise that the military is just a small cosmos of the actual world at large. So the military is not infallible. There are people in it who are shit. Just like there are people in the real world that are shit. As a collective, they're okay. Individually, there's some really shit people in the world. Just saying. Okie dokie. I don't know if I've suddenly changed stitches. Have I? I mean, I'll soon find out, I suppose, won't I? Okie dokie. So a truck driver is bailed over a serious school bus crash in Melbourne's West. A truck driver involved in a serious school bus crash involved 45 children west of Melbourne yesterday has been granted bail. So Jamie Gleeson, 49, appeared before the magistrate's court today where he faces 4 counts of dangerous driving causing serious injury. The crash occurred while the children were heading home from primary school near the intersection of Oxford Road and Murphy's Road. Police earlier told reporters there would likely be more charges laid against the truck driver after the school bus carrying 45 children overturned in Melbourne yesterday, leaving some of them with serious injuries. So Victorian Police Superintendent Michael Cruz said the investigation was continuing into the crash because he was speeding, and that speed that he was travelling is going into that investigation. It's sort of unimaginable. The children were in their classrooms just a short time later and they were seriously injured so close to the school, the court said. Guys, I really do think I changed my stitch. I feel like I went from a single crochet to a half double. Anywho, it is what it is, I suppose. I've already gone around now. So 7 children remain in serious condition at the Royal Children's Hospital with life-changing injuries. The Royal Children's Hospital Chief Executive, Bernadette McDonald, said the children had suffered multiple traumatic injuries, including partial and complete amputations of arms, multiple crushed limb injuries, which can kill you, by the way, severe lacerations to heads and bodies. The bus driver, a 52-year-old Milton West man, was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Dozens of children are sick. This is ridiculous. This is why I hate buses. I dislike buses so much because they don't wear seatbelts. All these crush injuries could have been prevented. So, about 44 kilometres from Melbourne, near Milton, the crash occurred. And the co-educational school is prep to 6 with 279 students enrolled. So it's only a small school, and 49 of those students... Sorry, how many of the students? 45 of the students have been injured. Some of them with life-changing injuries. Oh. Oof. Well, I hope they make a speedy recovery, and I'm glad they lost a limb and not their life. Small wins, I suppose. Okay, this next story is about a Perth man who's been accused of raping and assaulting 9 women he met on dating sites. I freaking hate the internet, she says, while writing a YouTube freaking video for the internet. Okay, alright, I think the internet is kind of like what I was just saying before about the small cosmos of people who make it crap for everybody else. Yeah. A man has been charged with allegedly raping and assaulting 9 women he met on a dating website in Western Australia. The 23-year-old man has been charged with 64 offences, including 12 counts of aggravated sexual penetration without consent, 2 counts of aggravated threats to kill, and 6 counts of aggravated assault causing bodily harm. Police said the alleged incidences took place in 2016 and 2023, starting when the man was merely a teenager. Detectives raided the man's home in Perth and seized electronic storage devices, cameras and computers. Police said one mobile phone allegedly contained, wait for it, more than 232,000 images and 9,300 videos of women. The man will also face charges of theft, trespassing, burglary and criminal damage. Wow, what a list, hey? What a keeper he was. Yeah, they can keep him in prison. Hope he gets convicted. He's only been accused at this point, so I don't have any more information, unfortunately, but he is due to appear in Magistrates Court tomorrow. So hopefully I'll have more information with you guys by then. But, yes, be wary of internet dating, guys. Be wary of internet dating. Okay, so yesterday's story, I had a story for you guys about $1 million reward for any information regarding a murder of a woman. Well, today I have some more for you. So $1 million reward for dozens of unsolved Western Australian murders, missing persons cases as well. So I normally do missing Monday, and so I think it will be nice to sort of just give these a little quick perusal and talk about them, because you could have a chance of winning $1 million. And getting $1 million reward. Look, I think if you have any information about anyone's disappearance, you should probably tell them regardless of the reward, but the reward would be a nice bonus. So here we go. Investigators are hoping that dozens of decades-old unsolved murders and missing persons cases in Western Australia will be resolved after the government has announced $1 million rewards. So there are now 64 open investigations of $1 million, with $1 million incentives for information that leads to the arrest and the conviction of these cold case homicides. Of the 39 cases, for 39 of those cases, so 39 of the 64, the first time a reward has been offered, while 21 of the cases have had smaller amounts attached. So, let us talk on. The government hopes the reward will encourage people to come forward with critical information to help solve these cases. These significant rewards give people who have vital information 1 million reasons to come forward, like I just said before. The financial incentive will hopefully ensure those that are responsible for the heinous crimes are brought to justice and assist the grieving families in finding, I hate this word, closure. How about just in finding a little bit of peace? Stop that closure word. It doesn't do anything. It's a pointless word. Alrighty, a couple of these people are Nicolas Lafranca, a long-time missing person, while Jared James Ross was murdered decades ago. Lisa Marie Matt and Sarah Ann McMillan are both long-time missing persons. So they're missing. Alright, I'll read you them all in a minute. Let me just read you the rest of it first. Police Commissioner Cole Bunch said that police never gave up on unsolved homicides, but a $1 million reward may help provide the missing pieces of the puzzles in these cases. So for these families who have lost loved ones and are still waiting for justice, we hope the reward money is able to deliver the closure that they deserve. Again, I hate that word, closure. And it's because I don't believe it's a case. I don't think it's ever going to be closed. I think it's a big gaping wound, and that word is just like a balm over the top of it. It's still bleeding everywhere. It's disgusting. We know people in the community who are able to provide valuable information on those unsolved cases, which is why we need them to contact them immediately. And they gave them a million reasons why. So Bleach said there are people in the community who know what happened in these crimes, and he added that forensic technology can also help solve these cases. So here's a full list. I'm going to read you the full list. And they're each now have a $1 million reward. So each of them have $1 million reward attached to all of them. So I'm going to read you their names, the victims' names, their ages, the year that they went missing, and the type of case. So like I said, these are all cold cases, so they're all like really old, but you can also go on the Crime Stoppers website if you would like to see pictures of their faces, but I will give you their list. So William Barbara May, 26, 1958, homicide. Jens Barnegard, 17, 1963, homicide. Anne Cecilia Zappelli, 22, 1969, homicide. Thomas Norman Weston, 58, 1974, homicide. Grantham Gwyneth, 46, 1974, homicide. Kelly James Paul, 52, 1977, homicide. Walker Paulie Juliet, so I'm saying the names backwards, 22, 1980, homicide. Brian Michael Garlett, 26, 1982, homicide. Mabel Yamulta, 16, 1983, homicide. Barbara Ann Weston, 38, 1968, so 1986, homicide. Unidentified male skeleton remains in Newman, unknown age, found in 1988, homicide. It's so sad. Unidentified male infant, Leaderville, also unknown age, found in 1989, homicide. Paul Andrew McKinnon, 22, 1990, homicide. Julie Buck, 23, 1993, homicide. Another unidentified male infant, Victoria Park, don't know how old, 1993, homicide. Michael Anderson, 4 months, 2001, homicide. Sorry, I've got tears in my eyes. The infant ones have me getting a little bit upset that there are unidentified infants in the world who have been murdered and no one knows who they belong to or anything. It's so sad. Meredith Dylan Ugel, 25, 2003, homicide. I can't even say this person's name. Bugshaw Yuzuk, 52, 2006, homicide. Another unidentified male infant from Mangala. Don't know the age. Obviously, 2007, homicide. Rainey Karen, also known as Victoria Ann, 44, 2007, homicide. Stacey Robin Thorne, 35, 2007, homicide. And there is just so many more, guys. So many more. And I'm just making me super duper depressed. So I'm going to stop reading them. But please go on to the 9 News Western Australia. 50 missing people, unsolved cases. There's some missing people as well, not just homicides, thank goodness. And hopefully they'll find these missing people, but some of them have been missing since 1970, so I doubt it. I can't go on because there is just too many infants in here and it's really messing with my mental health and it's making me super sad. But yeah, maybe on Missing Monday I'll come back to it, but right now I don't have the headspace for it. So let's move on. Prosecutors are seeking more time in high-profile rape cases, and I agree. I think that people who are celebrities and stuff like that, I feel like we should make examples of them because they are held in higher esteem, therefore we should hold them to a higher standard. The Queensland committal hearing for the high-profile man accused of rape has again been adjourned for prosecutors to prepare medical and mobile phone evidence. Today, Toowoomba Magistrates Court briefly heard the case for the 4th time as part of the process to decide whether the accused man will be committed to stand trial. The man, who cannot be named for legal reasons, which is absolute bullshit, faces 2 charges of raping women in October of 2021. I hate how these men have more rights than the women. During a 2-minute hearing, so much time was given to it, Sally Dumbin applied to the court to be adjourned to have the matter to allow time to comply with the requests of the material in the men's defence. The forensic medical officer's report and the calibrate data, downloaded for data and analysis, from the complainant's phone, they're waiting on. We haven't requested a forensic medical report yet, and it might be that the information from the complainants might be able to assist with this request. We're liaising with the police at the moment to determine what might be disclosed as some sensitive evidence. Absolute fucking bullshit. You lose the ability to... Yeah, anyway. Breathe, Hayley. Breathe. So, anyway... of 6 weeks, gave them 6 weeks time and will let the court know when the statement might be due. The accused man's solicitor, Rowan King, said he could see no difficult with the 6 weeks adjournment. Of course not. 6 weeks extra out of prison. I know he hasn't been proved as guilty yet, guys, but I've said it before and I'll say it again and I'll say it until I'm blue in the face. Anyone who is accused of raping somebody should be found guilty until proven innocent. And I don't care. You can fight me until I'm blue in the face. I'll always think that. So Queensland law prevents naming people accused of rape unless they are committed to stand trial. So the moment he is committed to stand trial, I will have a name for you. But obviously, he must be a celebrity because they are calling for harsher penalties for people who have celebrity status. So, there can only be one reason for that, guys. And I think you and I both know what that reason is. Okie dokie. So, my last story today, because I would like to wrap up. Let me see. No, I don't want to read that one. Nah. I'm going to read you... The parole board state agreed to pay ex-bikie $64,000 of damages. Yeah. Look, I know I'm rough as guts, and I'm okay with it. But I grew up around, in my teenage years, I knew a lot of bikies, and they were some of the kindest, nicest people I've ever met in my entire life. So, yeah, like big brothers. But anyway, that's just my opinion, and that's just my experience. But none of these clubs were a part of the 1%, so maybe that's just my experience of... that kind of club. Anyway, so a former bikie who had his parole cancelled and was thrown behind bars for 72 days has been offered $900 per day for his imprisonment. So Sam, who's 31, is suing Victoria. Good job, Sam. In the Department of Justice over his unlawful imprisonment after his parole was revoked in June of 2019. The ex-Mongols bikie was shopping at Woolworths when a black car pulled up, and fugitive detectives told him there was a hit on his head. So they're like, oh, it's, like the whole blacklist styles. They're like, pulled up, there's a hit on you, threw him in the car. That's what I'm picturing is happening because I'm dyslexia and I can picture the whole rendering in my head. He then spent 72 days in jail. He's seeking damages for the harm his false imprisonment caused, because that is false imprisonment. You can't just throw someone in prison. The parole board claimed it believed that Sam was the intended target in 2 shootings, and being paroled could have posed even a public safety risk, which is, I kind of agree with them a little bit. Like if there's a bit of hit out on him, the pitmen won't give a shit who they kill in the process as long as Sam's dead too. So Sam previously told the Supreme Court on the first day of his civil trial, being locked up over that period of time was the worst thing that could happen to him because he don't want to be in jail. And I agree with him. I wouldn't want to be in jail either. So he said it was worse than being shot 8 times outside his cousin's funeral, killing a grandmother in a car crash, and watching his friend or being shot dead by George McGraw. Barrister Liam Brown, acting for the 3 defendants, said that the parole board accepted imprisonment would be an exacerbate Sam's mental health issues. I don't actually know his real name, guys. I'm just naming him Sam because I feel like we should pay some people some respect. He was literally thrown into prison for being around other bikies at the time. So that's kind of not fair. He is a professional boxer who goes by the name The Punisher, and he's damn hot, guys. Go have a look. Damn. He experienced so much other trauma in his life that he should only be awarded with minor damages because it's ridiculous. This story could have been written by Hollywood, basically. All of the adversities that this man has overcome to become an out-and-out champion is actually remarkable, and the fact that he has cleaned up his life and made a really good life for himself is absolutely ridiculous that they would then throw him in prison. Redonkulous, guys. It's redonkulous. So, if the case where damages would be awarded to on the lower end of the scale, which he doesn't actually care about how much he's going to get, it's more about them acknowledging that they falsely imprisoned him and caused him great mental distress. So he's got $900 per day for his detainment, which amounts to about $64,800. The trial continues. So I don't think he'll end up getting any money. And the reason I think that is because they won't want to be opening doors for stuff like that, because then if that person gets it, then it'll open the door for other people to get it, and so on and so forth. And the government does not like handing over money. So I'm glad that you're no longer in prison, buddy, and I hope that you're having a really great time. Yay! Look, guys, I made it all the way around in my video today. Probably because it was a really simple stitch. Ta-da! Ba, 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 ba. Like I said, this blanket is getting big. You guys just saw it before. Lillian, you're so chunky. You're so big. And you're so chunky. Chunky! Alright, guys. Thank you very much for watching my video today. And I hope to see you guys tomorrow. I'm hoping to get back into my crochet along tomorrow. Yeah, I thank you for your time, your effort, your energy, and have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day. And I shall see you tomorrow. Well, you shall see me tomorrow. Bye.